I wanted to ask about fantasy or sci-fi. Are you either or? What are your favorite aspects about the fantasy, or what are your favorite aspects about sci-fi? Because I hear you're making a more of a sci-fi type story, but you are involved in a lot of fantasy from the beginning of the conversation.
Yes, I do have an interest in both, but primarily sci-fi. You're absolutely correct. Sci-fi is probably my favorite
Okay.
because I've been interested in technology ever since I was a child. And my father was an electronics engineer, and I worked for him for a while, and he probably kindled my interest in technology. So with sci-fi, it's interesting to see the extent that where technology can take us, and you can understand how things work. You can I like seeing the applications of technology in various ways, be it recording devices, the potential of magnetic fields, which we're only just beginning to realize. That's how you'll get like touchscreen interfaces, holograms, stuff like that. Magnetic fields is where all that's at, and and the likes of material compositions, how things keep on getting stronger, the computers keep getting faster. They say that with quantum computing, like the way right now, the way information is stored on a computer is in a memory cell. It's either a one or a zero. With quantum computing in the future, they think that memory will be stored by monitoring the direction which an electron spins around an atom. So when you get something like that, computing is exponentially more powerful. So it's interesting to consider all these things, and sci-fi is the extent of that. It's where that is.
Right.
But I still like fantasy. With fantasy, what I like is, well, combat, really. Because I'm a big fan of combat. I enjoy HEMA, that's Historical European Martial Arts. I'm still studying those. I quite enjoy them. And I just like seeing like knights, samurai, stuff like that. Big pitched battles with rows of spearmen and halberdiers. It's interesting. Also, architecture and the way life was.
Oh yes.
Craftsmen. I like seeing craftsmen in stories and fantasy stories. I really like that. And see, this is an appeal at both ends. There's like where technology was and where technology is going.
Two questions. I guess I have one for the sci-fi aspect and one about like the fantasy aspect. Well, on the sci-fi aspect, what do you think is a mostly a reality that you fear with our modern technology, and what are aspects that you see in sci-fi that makes you think this will never happen?
Right, things to fear would be the intrusive nature of technology.
Okay.
It seems that everything you're doing is being monitored right now for advertising purposes. There's like, you can't have a conversation with your phone around you about, like, if you start talking about beer cans or whatever, the next time you turn on your phone, you fire up YouTube, you're getting adverts for beer.
Right.
When you talk about a specific car, you're suddenly getting car adverts. It is quite intrusive, and I really don't like that. It could have been worse. It could have been much worse, but in sci-fi and
Absolutely.
fiction, where it usually happens that whenever you read like sci-fi dystopias, like I said, some things are pretty bad, and that's the worst extent of it. But that's like all the bad stuff to get there has already happened. But I find that in real life, when you see something that's a bit too intrusive or something that seems really, really crazy technology-wise, people on the whole will generally push back against it. Like a good example of that would be the Xbox One or the Xbox 360. I can't remember when this came out. It might have been the 360 when they wanted that the Kinect.
Oh
The
yeah,
Kinect
that
system.
was. I remember that was the Xbox One when that rolled out. Microsoft said that it has to be online all the
Yes,
time, and you cannot share any games with your friends. That it
that's right.
it was insane.
It could have been worse. One of the other plans they had was that, you'll be able to watch movies with your friends because it was no longer a games console. This was now an entire lifestyle system. This would help you with life in general. But with the Kinect, as they originally had it, you didn't have a choice. You were going to get a Kinect whether you liked it or not. You want an Xbox One, you're going to get a Kinect. There's nothing you can do about that. And one of the ideas was that if you had your friends around and you're watching a movie, you rented a movie. It used to be, if you want to rent a movie, you just go out and rent the damn thing and watch it. But now, with the Kinect, because it's got all the cameras, it would scan your room and see just how many of your friends you have with you, and charge you per person who is watching.
That was in the that was planned.
Yeah,
That's insane. That is insane. I guess you're right. It could always be worse. It could absolutely always be worse.
but no, thankfully people pushed back against it, and consumers on the whole said, "No, fuck this. I don't want this."
Oh my
And they had
god.
to go back in a decision. Originally, they said, "You're getting a Kinect. It's bundled with it." But then eventually, they had to admit, "Nah, nobody wants this. That we're not going to do the Kinect with it anymore. If you want a Kinect, you can buy one, but it's not bundled with the Xbox anymore." So good.
How do you feel about? I remember there was like news. There's probably old news, and Walmart and all these other major retailers probably stepped back. But I remember there was a scare recently, probably like last month, that a lot of major retailers were no longer manufacturing physical video game discs, since a lot of consoles nowadays are really pushing for digital only consoles.
Yes.
Would you see that is like another step closer to a dystopian future, at least for entertainment and archival reasons?
Yes. Possibly. Yes. There is that saying that's been going around. I don't know how true it is. It's part of a conspiracy, I know, but
Oh, yeah.
the edict that comes from on high is that you shall own nothing and be happy with it. So if you're getting your digital copies of games, that's not, you don't own that. You just have the right to play it. So at any point, the guys that produce it, they can change something in there. I mean, we've already seen that in movies. Like if you're watching movies on Disney Plus or whatever, sometimes they'll feel that a section of a movie might be too problematic for today's sensibilities, so they'll edit it out. But if you own the piece of physical media, if you own the discs, then you've got that forever. No one can change that.
When I heard that, at first I was reactionary and I was like, wow, this is all bad. But then I had to take a step back and think about how the majority people play retro games today, and that's through emulation, and that is all
Yes.
digital. So yes, I can see it as a bad thing in the sense of everybody loves to have physical copies. Me personally, I'm a majority PC player, and I absolutely loathe the fact that we don't have physical discs. That we stopped having physical discs for decades.
Yeah.
But at the flip side, since everything is digital, it gives us a way to save it on a physical hard drive, burn it on a CD, and keep it for as long as that physical drive lasts. So it opens different ways for video game preservations or just media preservations in a broader sense of things.
Yeah.
It's like mostly taking a good with the bad. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there is definitely good with bad. I mean, there's convenience, of course. You know, at what price do you want convenience? You know, what you want to give up to make things just a little bit more convenient. But there's also the space saving nature of it, because computing, as I said, I don't know what the case is anymore, but they used to say that every year computers will be twice as fast as they were the previous year, and information storage will expand at the same rate. Like you used to have a disk and it would hold like 750 megabytes, and that was your limit. But now you get gigabytes, and there's even better than that. I mean, disks, that's really not an efficient way of storing information. The only company that seems to have realized that was Nintendo. Because when everyone else was still trying to put information on disks, well, kind of augmented with a download. But Nintendo, with their games, they just say, well, here you go, here's a tiny memory chip. It's got gigabytes of data on there, but you don't need a big disk. You've got this little tiny chip to put into your device.
Yeah, and it reads faster.
Yeah, oh yeah, it does. Yeah, no spinning components. It's all physical. It's all very solid state. So it's more reliable, more robust, lasts longer.